It's time for my third car review of update 1.49. Of course, today we're talking about the Lamborghini Gallardo. This was one that I made no secret about, that I just wasn't the biggest fan of. However, let's find out if that opinion has now been changed. So the first thing we need to do is talk about the cost of this car. There is two ways to get your hands on this, from both the used dealership as well as Brand Central. From the used dealership, you're looking at 253,100 credits. Of course, it will have some mileage on it. The original had 18k on it, and the other way is of course Brand Central. This will cost you 260,000 credits. In terms of the stats, 614.47 pp, 4-wheel drive, 552 brake horsepower, and a little bit weighty at 1410 kilograms, naturally aspirated. One of the best things about this car is it's a 3-in-1 situation. You can either have the standard Gallardo, customize it to the Superleggera, or of course go for that entire GT look. However, there is a different way to go about producing that, which means you will need to go ahead and wide body the car, as this does give it an entirely different bumper option, with bumper type B being the full-blown GT kit. So I honestly have to give credit where credit is due. This is a very, very good car that can be massively changed up depending on what you want to go with. Whether you want the standard Gallardo, whether you want the Superleggera, or of course if you want to go for the race vibe with the GT3 kit, this is a 3-in-1 vehicle, and I really do appreciate that. Now, I made no secret prior to update 1.49 that I have never personally been the biggest fan of the Gallardo. For me, back in the day when it released, it was all about the Murcielago. For me, that was just the ultimate Lamborghini, and the Gallardo sat in this awkward place for me. However, it did improve with the facelift in my opinion, but it still wasn't no world beater. In fact, the Huracan that then came along a little later, for me was what should have been the Gallardo to begin with. However, of course, I'm going to try and keep an open mind with everything, and I've already given the car points for being able to produce multiple different models from one single base model. Now, in terms of the driving itself, it's a very hit and miss thing when it comes to the standard version. Upon lapping the likes of the Nordschleife, there is the odd time where the weight of this car is really felt, and not necessarily in a good way. It almost hampers the overall performance. Of course, this car does feature 4-wheel drive. It's relatively nimble for a supercar. It doesn't feel massively oversized. However, that weight really does give you a pretty poor feeling at times, and can lead to some very sketchy results. However, thankfully, due to that 4-wheel drive system, you should be able to manage it. Weight aside, honestly, a great plus point towards the Gallardo is that the brakes are actually pretty fantastic and will probably stop you and stop that extra weight before you end up giving yourself an accident. Another thing that is a great thing about this car is that the 4-wheel drive system, acceleration and top speed is all there for what is essentially an aging supercar at this point. Of course, it's no fresh out the showroom vehicle, it's around about almost 20 years old. However, all that performance that was there back in the day is absolutely still here today, and it does still feel very good to drive. Now, in terms of the car itself though, for me its closest competitor is always going to be the Huracan, and whilst I do certainly think that the Huracan does have the hands over it in terms of the original stock standard spec, I honestly still think this is a very good car, and one that you should certainly try. In terms of its lap time though, it did it in second place, so this is currently the second fastest car of the update. As you can see, 614.51 pp on sports hard compound of tyre, doing it in 7 minutes 21 seconds. 0.190. I wonder how long it will take that one to fall down the ladder. And now it's time to talk about what you're probably here for, the upgrades and the fast. For me, this is where the Gallardo absolutely shines over the rest of the field. It's an incredible car that can be tuned in multiple different ways, and once you start piling those upgrades on, this is an absolute rocket ship. You're essentially pairing four-wheel drive with almost 1,000 brake horsepower. It's ridiculous, and the great thing about this car, it can handle it. For me, this is where the Gallardo does edge itself over the Huracan. Whilst the Huracan is definitely by no means a slow, fully upgraded vehicle, the Gallardo can just do it in so many different ways that for me, it does make me gravitate towards it. This is a very customizable car, whether you want to go for the 600 builds, 700 builds, 800 builds, this thing pretty much can do it all in many different shapes and form. So honestly, massive props to this car for that. Oh, and another great thing for you drift guys, yes, this is a very, very driftable vehicle. All those crazy Lamborghini videos you've seen of them drifting, kitted out in monster liveries and all that stuff, you can very much do that with the Gallardo. It can handle it. So overall, a very, very versatile car, whether you want to go for road, race, drift, it can really do it all, and it does it with absolute perfection as well. For me, this is what bumps this car up to a certain buy it now car. However, there is a slight downside. This isn't a car that you can just upgrade and jump in. You really will need to fine tune each and every single build to make them work with the new physics and work for yourself. It definitely isn't the most beginner friendly car, as it does suffer from that bumpy bounciness that came along with the physics update of 1.49. Now of course they have worked it out where they patched the glitch with the bouncing cars, and this was definitely one of them. However, it does still suffer from that really weird movement towards the rear end of it, so just be aware of that you might want to brush up on those tuning skills. In terms of the lap time for the Lamborghini Gallardo though, it does manage to complete it in second place once again with a PP rating of 829.47 on the racing softs with 1 minute 54.788, a pretty ridiculous lap time for a tuned road car. So honestly, in conclusion, if you want a car that is massively versatile, that can pretty much do everything to absolute perfection, maybe isn't the easiest car to get your head around, but once you do, can provide you some of the best driving in the entirety of GT7, then honestly, the Lamborghini Gallardo is for you. So do you know what? Yes, I take back my original statement. Whilst I wasn't the biggest fan of the Gallardo and its styling just really isn't for me, in terms of a driver's car, this is almost as close to perfection as it gets. A versatile, fast and fun vehicle that honestly I think everybody should learn to appreciate. So there we have it. I'll be back with my fourth car review soon enough. A massive thank you to you guys watching at home, and a big thank you to all of my channel members. If you do want to join and help the channel out, it is massively appreciated. Have a fantastic rest of your day guys. Take care. Peace.